Great guest coming up right now. He's covered the Knicks for a long time, a fixture in New York media. Frank Isola, currently with Sirius XM NBA Radio. Frank, thanks a lot for taking the time this morning. I know you're a busy man. Everybody wants to talk Knicks. I'm curious your macro thoughts watching that series as they blow game one and then ultimately lose the series in 6.
Well, I think you said it. Blowing game one was the big difference there, because if you look at what the Knicks did to Boston, winning game 1 and 2, Boston should have won game 2. They lose that, they're chasing the series. Cleveland should have won game 2 at home against Indiana. They're chasing the series. The Knicks losing game 1, and it wasn't just being up 14 with 2:58 to go, or you're up 9 points with 58 seconds to go, and the Knicks scored 4 more points. So that had to be a 13-4 run by Indiana just to tie the game up. Look at that Halliburton shot. So a little bit of luck factors in. So a game that the Knicks should have won, to me, that set the tone for the entire series. The Knicks were chasing the series. They never caught up to Indiana, and that was the killer game right there. That's the one they never recovered from.
So just to be clear, this is the greatest season they've had this century, right? Long playoff run. But Knicks fans were expecting, hey, we're favored in the series. How are we not in the finals? And now it's, let's do the autopsy. Do we fire Thibodeau? Do we trade Cat? What do we do with Bridges and his new deal? Lots on the table. It's going to be a busy summer in New York, Frank. Let's start with this. If you're giving advice to Dolan and company, what do you say about Giannis? Do you try to make a move and get in the mix or stand pat?
Oh, 100%. I'm trying to make that move. I think the Knicks window is right now over the next 2 to 3 years, and you haven't won a title since 73. If a player like that is available, you certainly go for it. I don't know if the Knicks can get it done. If I'm Milwaukee and I'm making that big step to trade a guy like Giannis Antetokounmpo, I'm thinking about rebuilding. I'm looking to get a lot of picks back, maybe a young player. I still think that Houston is the ideal team for Milwaukee. I think it would be the ideal team for Giannis as well. But certainly the Knicks should go for it. Hope that maybe Giannis could finagle his way there. Jason, you know this. Astoria, Queens got the huge Greek population. Giannis knows that as well. So there is a bit of a tie there. But I don't know. I think that'll be hard to pull off, but I'm certainly exploring that if I'm the Knicks.
Yeah, I can't imagine the Bucks wanting to build around Karl Anthony Towns. By the way, let's talk for a few moments about Cat. Bit of a space cadet defensively, commits some really goofy fouls, seems to get the ball. You remember how Julius Randle was a black hole? This is like a different version of it because he can actually shoot threes with some reliability. I don't really know what to make of Cat. He has flashes of, that's the NBA player I know. And then it's like, he makes some really poor decisions.
Yeah, he certainly does. There's a reason why he was available for the Knicks to acquire him, and it's not breaking news that he struggles defensively. Everyone knew that before the Knicks acquired him. I do think the fallout from them losing this series, losing game 6, I think there's been far too much criticism on Karl. He was the only starter that was a plus, like the plus minus. He was a plus. He was a plus all throughout the playoffs. So, yeah, defensively he struggles. But he also had a game 3 with the Knicks season on the line where he scored 20 points in the fourth quarter. He had a couple of really big moments against Detroit. He had some big moments against Boston in games 1 and 2 where he kind of bailed them out. I think the big issue for the Knicks, and I think Karl, my morning radio partner, Brian Scalabrine, talks about it all the time, and he played for Tom Thibodeau in Chicago. He feels like when guys are under Tom that second year, he thinks it'll help Bridges. He thinks it'll help Towns, much like it helped OG Anunoby, like it helped out Randall, like it helped Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson was an MVP candidate a few years into coming to the Knicks and playing for Tom Thibodeau. But the biggest issue, Jason, and you know this, can you win when your two best players are not great two-way players? And that's going to be the biggest issue. Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, both terrific offensively, struggle defensively, and that's an issue.
Do you think there's a world where the Knicks are a bench or two player away? They go out and get like Nickeil Alexander-Walker, maybe start him for Josh Hart. You go try to pry Al Horford, like a veteran who can actually make shots. Like Mitchell Robinson at times is unplayable because of the free throws. Yeah. But like Al Horford can play defense and make threes, and you're not asking heavy minutes. Are they just a couple pieces away? Because remember, no Tatum next year in Boston.
Yeah, 100% right. And if, going into this season, a lot of us felt, I know I did, that Boston was a clear favorite. They'll repeat as Eastern Conference champions, probably repeat as NBA champions. Now you look at the East, it's completely wide open. And I think you're right. I think there is something to be said. Indiana got eliminated in 4 games in the Eastern Conference Finals. They kept that core together. As the old saying goes, you let the cake bake a little bit. Mm-hmm. Why not try to run it back if you're the Knicks? And maybe, like you said, I think you're right with your thinking. trying to add a guy that can shoot coming off the bench. Their shooting isn't great, and adding that kind of player will really open up the offense. But again, they're going to have to address issues on the defensive end and hope that they can figure something out. Because for me, that was the biggest issue they had against Indiana, going up and down the court, and the Knicks really couldn't play for long stretches. Jalen Brunson and Carl Anthony Towns, it's an issue when you can't play your two best players a lot because both struggle so much defensively.
So let me ask you about this Jalen Brunson. Several months back, Becky Hammon made a statement. You can't win with Jalen Brunson as your number one player. I thought it was ludicrous. I said some stuff that was kind of harsh. Listen, Jalen Brunson's an unbelievable player, man. I think he's fourth in the league in playoff scoring this year. The Knicks are not anywhere near the Eastern Conference Finals without him. But like you said, the defensive questions. Now, listen, that stuff dogged Steph Curry early in his career, too. And they had to go out and get Iguodala and then Kevin Durant, kind of a cheat code. But is that the one argument for moving off Towns? Hey, we need another defender. OG and Bridges are good, but you kind of need another defender to help out Brunson, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you look at Carl, he's an unbelievable offensive player, but defensively struggles. And I understand what Becky Hammon was trying to say, but, Isaiah Thomas was an undersized guard. He won a championship as, what is he, like 6'2". Now, that's an all-time great player. But Brunson has been outstanding the last couple of years with the Knicks. And you know it from watching it. You see him on the court in the fourth quarter. He has all the confidence in the world that he's going to make the right play. I think if you go back to game one, I thought he gave up the ball a little early with, 14 seconds left in regulation to Carl. Jalen's got to hold on to the ball, get fouled, and he needs to go to the free throw line and knock down those two free throws. But again, to your point, it's something that the Knicks have to figure out if they want to, they finished 6 wins shy of winning a title, right? They had 10 wins. They still needed to win 6. It's hard to win 16 playoff games. And right now, it was proven that this team simply wasn't good enough. I still think there are moves that they could make. I still think Jalen Brunson could be that player. You look everywhere he's been, every level, high school, college, and the NBA, he's won big. He hasn't won the ultimate prize yet in the NBA, but he took the Knicks to a place they hadn't been in 25 years. So
Kevin Durant has been a fascination of the Knicks for probably at least a decade. Let's just say, I don't think it could happen, but let's say Carl Anthony Towns straight up for Durant. Do you do that deal?
You know what? I would think long and hard about it, just because I know I can trust Durant in the playoffs, especially offensively, even defensively. He's going to give you something. And again, I'm looking at that window for the Knicks. I really do think it's about a 2 to 3 year window with a lot of these guys. And when you haven't won a championship, 73, hadn't been to the finals since 99. That's why, I thought they gave up too much to get Bridges, but I understood swinging for the fences because it's been that long since you've done anything. And I think with Kevin Durant out there, and I think Kevin Durant will be rejuvenated. When a guy of that status hasn't appeared in a postseason game this season, he's going to be hungry to get back there. And I think Kevin Durant would come in with the right attitude. I think he would like the serious of the Knicks program. Tom Thibodeau, Jalen Brunson, I think he fit in perfectly. Is it a gamble? 100%. Because of his age and the injury factors, but it's something that I certainly would consider.
Yeah, the age is a question. You mentioned window, so Durant turns 37 in September, and if you look at his last few seasons, he's been injured a lot. Do you think that he would shrink the Knicks window to maybe just one season?
That's certainly a possibility, but you know this, Jason. You know this about Kevin Durant. He loves to play basketball. All right, take away the Twitter stuff that he does. He loves to play basketball. He loves to compete. So you know that he's going to do everything that he can to get himself ready to play. The basketball part, I had heard at the Olympics, a lot of these coaches that weren't around him that much, they were blown away by how much he puts into it every single day. So you know you're getting the guy with the right kind of mindset. And I think if he came, I think he'd be able to handle the pressure. I know he gets sensitive to it at times, but I would think after what happened in Phoenix this year with that team not making the playoffs, I think he would be rejuvenated coming to the Knicks.
Interesting. All right, on to the finals real quick. Actually, first of all, Eastern Conference Finals MVP voting. We didn't do the subject yet, but we might. Siakam won 5-4 over Halliburton. First of all, do you think this award is dumb? Because it's just the series and not all of the playoffs? And B, shouldn't it have been Halliburton?
Well, I don't have a problem with them giving out awards. Everyone gets awards. That's like our new thing now. But I agree with you. If I had a vote, and that takes nothing away from Pascal Siakam.
Yeah, he's great.
But to me, everything is different. Like Halliburton's shot in game one is not just one shot that wins one game. That was a massive shot that tied it up, and they go on to win that game. So in the biggest moment, he delivered. Then in game 4, after they had blown the 20-point lead in game 3 and he didn't play well, he put up historic numbers. The numbers that he put up in that game with no turnovers was something that no player had ever done in any NBA game. So those 2 games right there, and the fact that he played well in the second half of, again, no problem with Siakam. I didn't have a vote because I wasn't there in Indiana. I know some of our brethren in the media, people that you know, and I've already given them a hard time about it. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. I would have voted for Tyrese Halliburton.
All right, 15 seconds. Who you got in the finals, OKC or Indiana, and how many games?
You know what? It's hard to pick against OKC. They're such a good team defensively. I look at Indiana. It'd be great for that city and for that franchise. Been in the NBA a long time, former ABA team to get the banner. But I don't know. Oklahoma City winning that game 4, Jason, in Denver. They were down 2-1 in the series. They were down entering the fourth quarter. Them winning that game 4, I think that's the game they're going to look back on and say, that's the game that changed.
Yeah, Lou Dort special. All right, Frank Isola,